Raymond Albert Kroc, famous entrepreneur and owner of the most incredible, successful, and profitable restaurant in the world, McDonald's. Ray Kroc spent most of the first decades of his professional career selling paper cups and milkshake machines. After discovering a popular California hamburger restaurant owned by Dick and Mac McDonald, he went into business with the brothers and launched the McDonald's franchise in 1955. Kroc purchased the company in 1961, and his strict operational guidelines helped transform McDonald's into the world's largest restaurant franchise before his death in 1984 at the age of 81. Ray Kroc was born to parents of Scotch origin in Oak Park, Illinois, on October 5, 1902. As a child, he took piano lessons and displayed his developing business instincts through such ventures as opening a lemonade stand and working at a soda fountain. Kroc participated in World War I as a Red Cross ambulance driver, lying about his age to begin serving at age 15. During his training, Kroc met Walt Disney, with whom he would maintain a professional relationship for most of his life. After the war, Kroc explored a number of career options, working as a pianist, musical director, and real estate salesman. Eventually, he found stability as a salesman for the Lily Tulip Cup Company, rising to the rank of Midwestern sales manager. Kroc's business dealings connected him with ice cream shop owner Earl Prince, who invented a machine capable of generating 5 milkshake batches at the same time. By the 1940s, Kroc had left Lily Tulip to focus on selling these multi-mixers to soda fountains around the country. In 1954, Kroc visited a restaurant owned by brothers Dick and Mac McDonald in San Bernardino, California, that reportedly had the need for 8 of his multi-mixers. He was impressed by the simple efficiency of the operation, which rapidly catered to its customers by focusing on a simple menu of burgers, French fries, and shakes. Grasping for potential for a chain of restaurants, Kroc offered to work as a franchising agent for a cut of the profits. In 1955, he founded McDonald's System Incorporated, which would later be McDonald's Corporation, and opened its first new restaurant in Des Plaines, Illinois. McDonald's is known as an American fast food chain that is known for its burgers. The first McDonald's restaurant was started in 1948 by brothers Maurice and Richard McDonald in San Bernardino, California. When Kroc visited the brothers in 1954 to see how a small shop could sell so many milkshakes, he discovered a simple, efficient format that permitted the brothers to produce huge quantities of food at low prices. A hamburger cost 15 cents, about half of the price charged by competing restaurants. The self-service counter eliminated the need for waiters and waitresses. Customers received their food quickly because hamburgers were cooked ahead of time, wrapped, and warmed under heat lamps. The number of McDonald's outlets would top 1,000 before the end of the decade. Boosted by steady growth, the company's stock began trading publicly in 1965. The public face of McDonald's was created in 1963 with the introduction of a clown named Ronald McDonald, with the double arch M symbol becoming McDonald's most enduring logo in 1962, lasting far longer than the yellow arches that had once dominated the earlier restaurant rooftops. Other products and symbols would define the McDonald's brand, including the Big Mac, the Egg McMuffin, Happy Meals, and Chicken McNuggets. The chain continued to expand domestically and internationally, extending to Canada in 1967, reaching a total of 10,000 restaurants by 1988, and operating more than 35,000 outlets in more than 100 countries in the early 21st century. Growth was so swift in the 1990s that it was said a new McDonald's opened somewhere in the world every 5 hours. It effectively became the most popular family restaurant, emphasizing affordable food, fun, and flavors that appealed to children and adults alike. The success of McDonald's brought increased criticism, much of which concerned its perceived association with a global increase in obesity. McDonald's responded by adding healthy items to its menu, and in 2017, it began testing a vegan hamburger. During this time, it also eliminated supersized portions, and its US and Canadian restaurants stopped using trans fat oil in a number of items. Such measures, however, did little to stem health concerns. In addition, as one of the world's largest private employers, McDonald's faced numerous calls to increase wages. In the late 20th century, McDonald's moved beyond the hamburger business by acquiring Chipotle Mexican Grill, Donato's Pizza, and Boston Market in the United States. And in the United Kingdom, McDonald's purchased Aroma Cafe and an interest in Pret a Manger, a sandwich restaurant chain. However, by 2008, McDonald's no longer owned or had a stake in any of those companies, instead concentrating on its own brand. McDonald's was active in charitable work. In 1974, it joined Philadelphia Eagles football player Fred Hill, whose daughter had been diagnosed with leukemia, in founding the Ronald McDonald House in Philadelphia. The residents allowed families to live near the hospitals where their children were receiving treatment. By the early 21st century, more than 360 such houses existed around the world. Back to Ray. In 1977, he reassigned himself to the role of senior chairman, a position he held for the rest of his life. When he died of heart failure at Scripps Memorial Hospital in San Diego, California on January 14, 1984, McDonald's had 7,500 restaurants across nearly 36 countries and was worth $8 billion. Kroc was married to his first wife, Ethel Fleming, from 1922 to 1961. He then was married to Jane Dobbins Green from 1963 to 1968, and finally to Joanne Mansfield Smith from 1969 until his death. Along with overseeing McDonald's, Kroc became the owner of a Major League Baseball team when he purchased the San Diego Padres in 1974. 3 years later, he published his autobiography, Grinding It Out: The Making of McDonald's. In 2016, more than 3 decades after his death, Kroc's story made it to the big screen in the movie The Founder, starring Michael Keaton as the massively successful businessman. Directed by John Lee Hancock and produced by Jeremy Renner, Aaron Ryder, Don Handfield, and Karen Lunder, this movie had a budget of $7 to $25 million while only retaining a box office of $24.1 million. Looking back at the brothers Mac and Dick, they wouldn't have been as successful. If you were to ask the average McDonald's customer who founded the fast food empire, there's a chance they'd guess it was somebody named McDonald. It's also a very likely possibility that they'd answer Ray Kroc. While Kroc may have taken McDonald's to such a grand scale that its humble beginnings were nearly forgotten, it was brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald who truly were the fast food restaurant's founders. While the lives of the McDonald brothers were filled with success that would eventually afford them luxuries like custom Cadillacs, their lives were also fraught with frustration and defeat. The brothers lost out on a fortune and had their legacy all but erased for decades because of going into business with Ray Kroc. I remember him saying once, "When I was a teenager, that guy really got me," recalled Richard McDonald's grandson Jason French. The brothers were born to a poor family of Irish immigrants in rural New Hampshire in the early 1900s and saw their father struggle later in life. Their father, Patrick McDonald, had worked as a shift manager at the 20,000-employee G.P. Craft shoe factory in Manchester when he was laid off after 42 years. The elder McDonald had been told that he was simply too old to do the job any longer, and the brothers saw their father face down unemployment after decades of hard work. Learning their father had been cut loose without a pension undoubtedly had an impact on the brothers, and they knew staying in their New Hampshire community wouldn't lead to a more prosperous life. The tragic work situation that Dick and Maurice saw their father grapple with, however, was the push they needed to west with nothing more than a pair of high school diplomas and ambition to reach for something higher. The McDonald's brothers didn't set out for California with visions of burgers and fries in their eyes. By all accounts, the burger business only came about after their venture in the entertainment business fizzled out. The brothers had dreams of directing and producing movies, and landed themselves gigs at Columbia Movie Studios doing grunt work on silent film sets for a paycheck of just $25 a week. It was hardly the sort of money that would make them millionaires, and without any more glamorous roles behind the camera on the horizon, they saved what little they could and opened a movie theater. The brothers bought the 750 Mission Theater 20 miles outside of Los Angeles, put in a snack bar, and renamed it the Beacon. The 1930 opening of the theater couldn't have been during a worse time, and the brothers were constantly behind on their bills during the Great Depression. Hard times got so desperate that they even buried some silver in their backyard in case the bank foreclosed on the Beacon. After 7 years, the McDonald brothers called it quits and sold their movie theater before deciding to try their luck in the food business. McDonald's wasn't simply McDonald's at first. It was the McDonald's barbecue. The food stand that the brothers opened in San Bernardino followed the pattern of other food joints of the era by catering to drivers in their cars. The brothers were even able to reuse uniforms from their failed movie theater for the car hops. Upon realizing that burgers were the top seller, the brothers scratched their working formula, temporarily closed their doors, and made some drastic changes when they reopened. The new McDonald's of 1948 had ditched everything that wasn't popular on the old 25-item menu, including the barbecue, and were done with the 20 female car hops. Customers were now expected to get out of their cars and walk to the counter to place their order. People weren't happy about the changes, and the once bustling business came to a halt. Customers would drive up and leave as soon as they realized a car hop wouldn't be coming over to take their order. Even efforts to stage a busy enterprise by having employees park in front failed to bring in much business. Had cab drivers and construction workers not slowly started to trickle in after several months, the McDonald brothers would have been failures yet again. Not long after revamping the operations of their hamburger stand and developing a quick-serve method that would make them famous, the brothers were pulling $100,000 a year in profits. In 1953, a second McDonald's opened in Phoenix. After that, another popped up in Downey, California. By the time Kroc came to the brothers in 1954 to transform their burger joint to the global machine it is today, the brothers had 6 locations. The McDonald's Golden Arches logo is today a globally recognized symbol beckoning people to come in for hot fries or a cheap cheeseburger. The double golden arches were not the original design that Dick McDonald had for his restaurant and were only incorporated after the brothers signed over control of their business to Kroc in 1961. At the time, diners and roadside restaurants were doing whatever they could to stand out among the pack and capitalize on the marketing of highway billboards. Dick hired architect Stanley Meston to design neon-trimmed golden arches that would rise from the sides of the hamburger stand itself. Paired with its Speedy Chef mascot, McDonald's had an eye-catching design that worked. When the brothers sold out to Kroc, one of the first things to go was Speedy Chef, and after that came a remodeling of Dick's beloved Golden Arch. Design consultant Louis Cheskin was hired to reformat the image of each restaurant and believing that they could be used to generate a Freudian pull for customers. They were doubled with the M shape we all know today. The McDonald brothers' 1961 deal to sell the rights to their growing business to Ray Kroc wasn't without its hiccups. Kroc wanted to own the entire McDonald's chain and borrowed cash from several different sources to meet the brothers' $2.7 million asking price. "I needed a McDonald's name and those golden arches," he said in a 1973 interview with CNN. "What are you going to do with a name like Kroc?" Kroc wasn't happy, however, that the contract excluded the brothers' original San Bernardino restaurant and was furious he'd been cut out of the iconic and very profitable location. Because the brothers no longer owned their own name, they changed the hamburger stand to the Big M. Even the name change, Kroc was still sore over the deal and took revenge by opening a new McDonald's a block away. Within 6 years, the Big M turned off its grills and the brothers sold the building. "I ran them out of business," Kroc would say years later with pride. By 1960, the Kroc had franchised 228 McDonald's that were pulling in $56 million annually. The McDonald brothers and Kroc had both become very wealthy, but Kroc would become filthy rich when he bought them out in 1961 for $2.7 million. The brothers figured that after taxes they'd each have $1 million. While that certainly wasn't chump change, had they never sold the business, by the end of the 1970s, their 0.5% stake would have been paying them $50 million a year. Had the 1961 buyout never happened, a 2012 estimate found that with McDonald's $61 billion in sales, the McDonald brothers' royalty fee would be $305 million. The McDonald brothers had big dreams when they left New Hampshire and set off for California in the 1920s. They didn't plan to jump into the restaurant business, but they had lofty goals. The success that the McDonald brothers had found on the West Coast eventually made its way back to New England, but unfortunately, it wasn't under their guidance. Once Ray Kroc was brought on as head of opening new franchises, McDonald's spread across the country like wildfire. Kroc's 1956 real estate subsidiary, Franchise Realty Corporation, was the gasoline on the fire that made the rapid growth happen. The FRC owned the building, but leased the land and charged rent on both. After the restaurant, the Big M, was run out of business by competing McDonald's, the McDonald's brothers called it quits in the restaurant business. There was not much of a reason to stay in California any longer, and Dick McDonald eventually moved back to his home state of New Hampshire. "I never liked California," he confessed in 1985. "I never liked sunshine. If we'd get a cloudy day, I'd be happy." While Dick would eventually come to accept how things had worked out with Ray Kroc and McDonald's, Maurice passed away in 1971 from heart failure. The brothers' nephew, Ronald McDonald, said the relationship fallout from with Kroc simply wore Maurice down. Dick McDonald wasn't resentful about how things turned out with the fast food business, and said he never regretted losing out on his fortune that Kroc amassed. Dick was an honest and respectable man along with his brother Mac. You can say that Ray was a liar or that he was a thief, but in fashion, millions of people around the world respected him and loved him for what he had done for the world around him. Ray Kroc could be seen as the most successful entrepreneur in U.S. history, and that is true.